All right, here's part 4. This should be the last part of our depth of field critique. And then next week you can be on to the motion stuff. So let's leap right into it and plow through this. And here we have a really fascinating shallow depth of field of someone, it looks like, putting their head back on. I'm not sure what's actually going on here, but it's probably too personal to get into. The basic shot is really a perfect example of the shallow depth of field. The subject is nice and sharp. The background is out of focus. It's a good shallow depth of field shot. What can I say? Nice job. I am curious, though, as to what he is doing. Oh, well. Maybe it's just as well we don't know. And here we have someone at a really cool place. I mean, this is really, what a neat place to do some shooting. I love the architecture of this overpass. It seems to go on forever and ever. This is really a nice job. The leading lines are perfect. They lead right into the subject and the dog. It's really, really well done. It's a deep depth of field shot. Because of the patterning and the way this plays into the shot, I don't think this should be vignetted. I think this is exactly good as it is and leave the graphic element alone. So here's another one. I would just leave this alone. This is a nice shot. And here we have a really bizarre flower. Have you ever thought how flowers, a lot of them look like they probably drifted here from some completely different universe? I mean, look at this. Nothing on Earth grows like this, well, except this flower. But it's a nice job. The only thing I would do is, since the real subject of the flower is here, I would come into it a little more. This leaf or this flower is really kind of cool, but it's so cool, I'd like to give it its own shot. Right now, it's kind of distracting from the main one. I would leave all of that. We've already trimmed a little of this off, so it won't hurt us to take a little more. And now we're really forced into the head of this flower. Don't be afraid to move in. Try it. In the old days, we used to have 2 pieces of cardboard cut into big L-shaped pieces, and we'd lay them around our sample print, our test print, and move in to crop them various ways to find the best shot. Well, here in the digital world, this is about as close as you can come. In fact, if you look at the icon over here for the crop tool, that's exactly what it is. It's those 2 L-shaped brackets that you would use to find your shot. And here we can do it simply by moving stuff in and out. I mean, it's endlessly flexible. You can find the shot however you want. So play with that. Look for that shot within the shot and make that the important part of your image. Here we have a shot that is listed as being maximum depth of field, but in point of fact, it does go from the foreground. This all is sharp. But the background is out of focus, and given the fact that the background has nothing to do with the foreground, maybe it's just as well. I mean, really, if we take all of that away, have we detracted in any way from the shot itself? I don't think so. It's all right here. This is where the shot is. In fact, I would then really fuzz this part out. Maybe do this as a double layer. We'll come down over here onto the bottom layer. And we'll blur that little puppy. And I want that really out of focus, so I'm going to blur this way down. Now I'll come back to the top, make this a layer mask, and with a black brush, Now I'm going to skim over the tops of these flowers because I'm going to bring them back in a minute. Now, once we've gotten that background out of the way, now we'll switch back to a white brush to paint some of this back, and we'll go up to 100%. And we'll paint the edges of these flowers back in. If we lose just a little bit of the tip, it's not that big a deal. And then, since this bottom layer is our fuzzed out layer, look at these icons for a minute. See where it's black? We're looking through to the bottom layer. We're looking at the top layer, looking through to the bottom layer. So I'm going to go into this bottom layer, and I'm going to darken it. And just to show the thing, I'm just going to do it quickly, easily. Now we would need to come in and clean up this edge a little. I'm going to move on, but that once we had done that, then we can really concentrate in here. The problem with all that is this is a large area that isn't helping us, and here's where our shots are. So I think the real solution really is to crop in even tighter into something like this. And now we've got our mix of flowers. We need a little highlight here, but here's really a better shot of all of this. And this must be from the same flower batch, but the again, we can come way in. By the way, I don't know if the microphone is picking this up. I'll know when I start to edit this. But if in the background you hear a large bass thudding noise, it's coming from my neighbor who has a party going, and I don't know what they've got for a band, but it is incredibly loud with their bass speakers. It's making my entire house vibrate. So I'm assuming that maybe when it's happening, this microphone is picking it up. Anyway, here's the way to simply concentrate on this. You've got this upward movement, which means really this is a vertical movement. So come on in and crop it that way. If you want to darken this area down so this stands out more, fine. That's easy enough to do. I'm going to do it with the burn tool. And now this really stands out. Much better. We could lighten this up in here a little bit if we wanted. I'm going to hit the Alt key, which turns the, when I'm holding it down, turns the burning tool into a dodge tool. So I can lighten this up a little bit very selectively. And so there's our a much better shot of this flower. This is really a cool flower you've got. There's my alien neighbors again. All right. Very nice. This is a nice shot, ground level shot of the cemetery. We can read this headstone really clearly. We maybe, if we look close, if it's sharp enough, we could read these others. It would be nice to have something here in all of this. If this were done during Memorial Day and there were flowers that had been put around, it would be nice to have a bouquet of flowers filling this area. Right now, it's a huge amount of expanse of just green texture, and it's not doing much for us. Our shot is up in here. And in fact, our shot really could be this simple. If you want a horizontal, now we've got something that really shows all of this. It shows it's on a hill overlooking the ocean, and what we're trying to do is make the subject of this the headstones, not the fact that the grass needs mowing. So a little crop, and it's made a huge correction on this. Here we have a nice close-up of this tree, shallow depth of field. Here's the part that's in focus. All of this background is out, so you did use a shallow depth of field, and that worked really well. But again, look at this. You've got all of these strong vertical lines in it, then feathering out into these branches. So I'm going to suggest that maybe our shot should really concentrate on the part of the photograph that is in focus, these. So I see one shot here, and I see another one right in here. As also a nice shot. Again, it's shallow depth of field. The background is out of focus. You can really concentrate on this. But the interesting part of this shot is the detail here. Well, this is a really nice little pattern shot of the cactus, and the cactus blossoms starting to become cactus petals. They've gone beyond flowers and are now into petals. It's a very nice patterning shot with the leaves and the spikes on the end. You wouldn't want to fall into this, I don't think. It would be a bit uncomfortable. But it is really nice. I might try to tone the highlights down a little bit in this cactus. It's bright. It's in the foreground. It's too bad it's not in here somewhere at a center of interest. Here's really where our main center of interest is. We're beginning to get a little bit repetitive over in here. So I think what I might do make this area stand out just a little more by where we're putting it. Now, using this cropping tool that uses the layout of the rule of thirds, you can see that in this third quadrant, all of our important stuff is in here. It's close to these intersections. So this really tightens up our shot and allows us to get a much better sense of the pattern and the important parts of that pattern. I think I would get rid of this little hot spot. It's a natural thing, but it is a little distracting, so I'm going to come in with the spot healing brush and just take it down. This is really a nice shot. By the way, this would make a nice wall hanging piece, maybe a nice canvas portrait. So good job, very good job. And here's our last shot for this assignment. Wow, thought we'd never get here, huh? So we've got the two little bees here. I don't know whether they're about to do a standoff or whether they're doing their dance to tell each other where the dinner is being located. Bees apparently communicate with dance with each other. So this is a really nice shot of it. But if this is the main shot in here, this isn't doing much for us. So once again, let's zoom in on it. Now, I understand that when you did this shot, because of the little stingy guys are probably a little bit camera shy and would have flown away. But that's why we have the crop tool in Photoshop. Now we have a nice shallow depth of field, and we're really beginning to see the interaction between these two little creatures. Nice catch. Timing is really good on this. You did a very good job. And so that's it. You all had some really good concepts going. The overall thing to take home from all of this, though, is be willing to move in a little tighter. If you can do it in the camera, that's the best. But if you can't, then consider doing it in the edit booth so that you can really enhance that picture. So That's it. I'll see you next time.